back to Kanika's Corner, and this is a ducky-based video. I'm talking about my learnings with her in the last year and a half. And I'm talking about sleep this time. As all new parents, we lost a lot of sleep, lots of learning with that. But most importantly, we went through sleep training, and this is how the whole thing was for us. I breast Ducky until she was 9 months old, and that used to be the main way that she would fall asleep. Now, when I stopped breastfeeding her, we were trying to figure out, how do you make her sleep, because she just wasn't able to lay down and fall asleep by herself. Rocking was a no-no for me. So I tried to just hold her and sing to her or maybe pat her a little, and then realized that I could lie down next to her, she would lie down next to me, and she would roll around, she would take her own sweet time and then fall asleep. Now the important thing for me here during this was that I had to be rock still. I could not move, I could not bat an eyelid, I could not take in a deep breath. If I did anything like that, she was like, hey, Amma is awake. And so she would start playing and pulling my eyelid and doing all of that masti. And of course it was only me who could then put her to bed, no one else could. So for the first 12 months, for the first year, it was only me who could put her to bed. And it became quite a frustrating experience because I wanted to be able to do go to the loo when I wanted to. But no, if it was her bedtime, then we'd be spending half an hour doing all of this circus. So somewhere around the 1 year mark, realized that if I give her a bottle of milk, she would happily hold on to it, roll around in her crib and fall asleep. So started doing that, and I was mighty thrilled that hey, this can happen. And then we ran into trouble because she would wake up multiple times a night asking for a bottle of milk, and then from that bottle of milk it became hey, I'm not hungry, I don't want that milk. She would throw it out and then start playing and would not go back to sleep until I gave her the next bottle of milk. Right, so you see where this cycle is going? Absolutely nowhere. I used to dread evenings, when that 6 o'clock time would come. I'd wonder, what would our evening look like, because she would be cranky, tired, sleepy, not want to do anything, not even want to eat dinner sometimes. And if she didn't eat dinner, then she'd wake up that much more in the night. And, it was tiptoeing for me. It was like, not to mention anything to do with sleep, not to show her her room, not to do any of that because I didn't want to trigger her sleep earlier than what it was actually happening. If she slept at 7, then she'd make up multiple times a night and then finally get up at 5 a.m. But if she slept earlier than 7 p.m, then hey, we were up by 4:30 and she was mighty playful and fully awake. So we reached this point where I was like, I can't function, I can't do anything. So I tried a few things that a few friends had suggested and what I read in books, and none of it seemed to work. So then we said maybe we need to go to a sleep trainer. Maybe we need to go to someone who can talk us through the process. And it was somewhat like biting the bullet here because sleep training wasn't something we had naturally thought of. It wasn't something we needed because we had all grown up, with our regular traditional methods and done well. I had absolutely no sleeping issues through infancy and childhood. So it was sort of like this is a little unknown territory. This is also a concept that is more available in the Western countries. But we said, let's try it out. You never know what will happen. And that's exactly what we did. So I got an appointment with Ausra Cirkelyte, a practitioner, a sleep trainer who is the founder of King of Sleep. And she is based in Abu Dhabi, but online consultations with us here in Bangalore. And I was really skeptical when we had our first consultation because she turned around and said, in a few weeks, your baby is going to be sleeping through the night. I was like, no, I don't think so. It's really, that's being very hopeful, but let's put in all our energy into what you're saying. And the first thing that she did was explain to us what we were doing right, what we were doing wrong, and what we had to do. So we made a few changes to the room setup, understood what we had to do and started. And the first night of sleep training was on the 10th of December 2022. And I was absolutely amazed because 3 days into the sleep training program and Ducky slept through the night. There was no waking up for milk. There was no waking up for a diaper change. There was nothing. And 10 days after having started it, she had learned to fall asleep by herself. There was no props, there was no bottle, there was no me. There was just her, the crib, and that's it. And she had slept by herself. And by the end of 2 weeks, there was no longer any protesting. She was happy to start the sleep routine. She was happy to get into her bed, and she would giggle and say, "Good night, Tachi," and send us off. Tachi, ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನನಗೆ ತಾಚಿ
ನನಗೆ ಅಕ್ಕಿ ಕೊಡು ನಿನ್ನೆ
You know, unbelievable what a transformation it was. Of course, it meant that I was getting beautiful sleep, that I was sleeping through the night for the first time in over a year and feeling so good about it and not feeling jet lagged and feeling like I can do anything in the world. I can multitask any number of things. We've reached the stage where, you know, I'm very comfortable letting Ducky play in her crib, and I'm not worried about it triggering any sleep for her. And she also loves to just roll around in the crib and play and giggle her head off. Waking up in the morning has also become such fun. It's 6 months since we started sleep training, and I would say for about 5 months she would still wake up crying a little bit. But nowadays she just sort of will roll around, talk to herself, look around, you know, see what she's seeing in the room, catalog it, and then when she's done with it, she'll stand up and say, "Mini auntie," calling out to my mom or to me, Amma, and saying, "Achi, Tachi, Achi, Tachi, Achi," and she just wants to be picked up. We've also reached the stage where others can put her to bed. So both my mom and her nanny now put her to bed very comfortably, and she's very happy going off to sleep with them there. I don't have to be there all the time, and that's been a huge boon to me, especially as I start to get into other things.
I had no concept of sleep training because I never did it for my kids, and I don't know how they slept. Probably the one video that I have is I find that I am asleep before Kanika is asleep. And because there was no response from me, she also lay down next to me and went to sleep. When we had Ducky, through the first 1 year, we really had trouble getting her to bed. Either she had to be carried in her baby sling and cry her heart out, or we had to put her in the car and take her for a half an hour round, and she would eventually fall asleep. So when we had the sleep training, it just transformed everything. Every day is fun. She, after dinner by 8 o'clock, she says good night to everybody downstairs, my parents, my aunt, and me also, and I come, you know, walking up with her, happily smiling, give her a bath, and then she will change into her night dress and getting into her sleeping suit, and it is just such a pleasure watching that happening, instead of that, you know, baby crying her head off and then finally out of exhaustion going to sleep. Here is this baby who is delighted to go to bed and, you know, really dancing down the room to come to the bedroom and fall asleep. So I must thank our sleep trainer for the wonderful job that she has done in training us to make this little baby sleep most comfortably. So I think all mothers must do sleep training, and it can be much earlier than what we did at 15 months. We did it. We needn't have suffered at least 9 months of trouble with her as she grew up. So wishing all of you good sleep. My daughter sleeps, her daughter sleeps, therefore I also sleep.
One of the things that we noticed is that Ducky has become a happier child, and her developmental milestones sort of like jump started. There was more things that she learned, more things that she caught on to, more things that she was able to do, just because she was sleeping through the night, and therefore her brain was getting the rest it needed, her body was completely relaxing, and you saw the little jumps that were happening, and it was like, hey, wow, this is the power of good sleep. So the whole sleep training process took us 3 weeks, and the first 10 days were really intense, and after that it eased up and we became more comfortable with the whole process. But thanks to Ausra, who was there throughout with us each step of the way and helping me understand what we needed to do. And also, when Ducky was struggling at some points, or I was struggling, she was there giving me confidence that you can do it, you're doing well, keep going on, right? That is what is important. So for those of you who would like to see the kind of work that Ausra does, her website is linked in the description box below, and there is a discount code that is also available if you'd like to avail of her services. One of the things that has happened with the sleep training process is that Ducky has a nap halfway through her day, and she will sleep anywhere between 2 to 3 hours, and that really makes a difference because she is that much happier through the rest of her day, from the afternoon to the evening. There's no crankiness, there's no tiredness. Actually, she plays for a full 2 hours in the park after that good nap, and is then ready for bedtime around 8 o'clock. So afternoon nap has also become very easy for us. So as we went through the sleep training process, these are a few of my learnings in how to make it easier for you and your baby if you're going to go through it. First tip is stay strong. Your baby is learning a new routine, and it can be difficult for him or her, and they can cry out sometimes. But remember that you are trying to help them do something that is good for them, and therefore you need to just be there and hold yourself together, let them go through their struggle, because at the end of the struggle something good is going to happen. So a few of the things that I did was I made sure I had eaten, I had gone to the loo, and I was well prepared to go through a little bit of Ducky's crying just as I was putting her to bed. If you are low on fuel, then your defenses are that much lower, and then hearing your baby cry, you're going to want to react to them, and that doesn't help the process. Let me put it into perspective. What's a week or two of doing this as compared to a few years of good childhood sleep, right? That's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is to maintain a sleep log. Now, this is very helpful in helping you see patterns. If something is going right or something is going wrong, you'll look at it and say, hey, he or she slept better that day. What happened? So it's really helpful. Tip number 3 is to stress yourself out less. Now, I was very apprehensive of the routine because it was new to me also, and I was thinking of each and every step as we were going through it. But then as we reached week 2 and I became more confident about what I have to do, I relaxed, and automatically my baby also relaxed and was more comfortable giggling with me and going through all of that with me. Otherwise, I was like, okay, I finished this, I have to remember, I have to do that next, and you could feel those vibes were affecting her also. Tip number 4, follow exactly what your trainer says. Now, if there's some feedback that you want to give them in terms of the techniques or the ideas they've given, give it to them directly. Don't make any changes yourself, because there are some of the things that we don't understand, that we don't realize how the babies react. So give them that feedback, let them give you an alternate idea, and then you try it out. And the final tip, and I would say the most important one, is that we have to change our mindset as parents. It's great fun to do everything for our child and with our child, but learning to sleep independently is a really important skill. And if we can help them achieve that earlier so that they sleep better and more peacefully, we just have to do that. We just have to let go of those little strings that we have attached to them and make this whole process so much more easier and so much more joyful. So my final words on sleep training. If you have a child who's struggling to sleep and therefore you are struggling to sleep, I highly recommend going through a sleep training program. And if you can find someone like Ausra Cirkelyte who will talk you through what you're doing wrong and what you have to do correctly and help guide you through all of that, please do go through it. It's worth everything. For me, I would think sleep training has been the best investment that we have made, and it's something that I hope you will also take forward. And here's to a good night's sleep to you and your little one. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.